Hello, everybody. Welcome here to another Kerfuffle showcase. And it's an old face. I don't mean that in a nasty way. I mean an experienced face, Steve. Old face, but new business proposition. Steve Meade, how are you, sir?
Very good, Simon. Good to see you as always. How's things with you?
I'm all right, you know, after a little game at the weekend went the right way, so everything's good in the world, my friends.
I thought you may have made reference to that. Yeah. I thought you may well have made reference. You did make me laugh with your comment on Facebook to Mr. Morris Kilbride, because he seems to have gone missing. Has anybody found him yet? No one's
seen him yet. No one. Yeah. If you have seen him, please do phone us. We're worried about him. He doesn't take these defeats rare as they are, well, does he? And of course, you know, other news. Like we've been on air 2 minutes, so there might have been another chancellor, but yeah, we haven't had a chancellor in 4 days.
No, so, absolutely, yeah. I expected you to bring something up on the political front as well.
Well, I think we need to, because we're going to get back to this later on, actually, with the whole, look, the title of it is Helping Navigate the Economic Climate.
Yeah.
I'm not, you know, I'm apolitical, so I'm not going to say who's caused the climate.
Of course.
But you've got... we've obviously known each other many moons, and you're obviously well known within the industry and really trusted personality from around the business. We've got something here today. Do you mind just, so it's the TMS group, can you just really give us just a really brief overview, elevator pitch style, so that people understand what we're going to be talking about?
Okay, yeah, and I think, to be fair, it's probably easier as well, nice if I sort of explain how I got involved with these guys, because I've been working with them for about 6 years now in a non-exec director role. Yeah. I was introduced to the two principals by our good friend Stephen Brown some time ago. And effectively what these guys did back in 2008, they had a vision and they wanted to replicate the engagement platforms that are used quite a lot in the States and Australia, specifically in the property sector, in that people work as consultants, but contracted consultants within organisations. So what they did back in 2008, they put a submission through to the Revenue with the help of BDO, who were obviously very well-known accountancy firm, and Berwin Leighton Paisner, who are a specialist employment law company, solicitors and law firm. And basically what they did was they put a submission through saying, look, we're going to take a guy out of a state agency. He's employed at the moment. We're going to put him back in, but he's going to be self-employed. And this is why we believe he can be. And effectively that submission went in, and some 7, 8, 9 months later, going backwards and forwards, eventually the Revenue came back and said, right, okay, we approve this for anyone working in that particular sector. Now, obviously the property sector was the first of many. We now work in probably 15 different sectors. But as I say, I was introduced to the guys back in, well, it was about 5 or 6 years ago. And since then, we've worked, I've introduced it to not only people in our sector, but I've got friends in the automotive sector as well, recruitment, that sort of thing. And it's basically for any business that has got sales orientated backgrounds, let's just say, people on flexible incomes. It works really well. So it's a platform which allows people to see more money in their net pay packets, whilst also the businesses see big savings on their fiscal responsibilities. So NI payments go out the window.
You've got big wins there, both sides. Then.
Yeah,
the business is doing better and the individual's doing better.
Exactly that. Yeah.
And sorry, I just interrupted you. And where are those saving elements coming from? Okay,
so basically by a simple transition. And that's all it is. People if you're employed, and I'll just use an estate agency as an example. If you're employed by an estate agent, a simple shift in your contractual arrangement with that estate agent, or with one of the suppliers, many of the suppliers that work with you guys, a simple shift in and transition in their status basically means that there's huge savings for the business on national insurance and workplace pension. So obviously with the cost-cutting element, that will see probably 15% plus savings on payroll. For the individuals, they can now utilise all the expenses, expenditure and allowances that Revenue allow self-employed people to take advantage of. So somebody typically, Simon, on 35 grand a year will probably see, and it will depend on their personal circumstances, but an extra £300 a month or so in their net pay packet. So it's not to be sniffed at.
It's absolutely not to be. I mean, you're talking about there to see an extra 10% more money in your pay packets at exactly the time we are. You know, we were joking about it before, but we're a very real cost of living crisis with inflation running at 10%, and you know, on some levels even more than that. So you know, there is no quicker way other than just throwing money at it and giving people a wage of being able to alleviate some of these real everyday issues.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, you know, it's very current, obviously, as you just alluded to, but also as well, what businesses, and we're seeing a lot of businesses that we've been working with for 10 years or so coming back to us and saying, look, you know, we've got probably 50% of our people working as consultants on your platform. Can you speak to so-and-so and so-and-so? Because, you know, they're now starting to feel the pinch, and they've been sat next to, they could be sat next to somebody at the same desk doing exactly the same job, but seeing less money in their net pay packet. So it's very current in that respect. And, you know, it's at people's fingertips. You know, you don't have to go. Businesses are, you know, always looking, how can we improve revenue? How can we improve that bottom line? How can we see more money? This is there. All you got to do is transition a few people and go on.
I was going to say, but completely voluntary for them. So this isn't about anybody forcing an employee to go down this route, is it? The employee has the ability to sit there and say, yes, I want to do this, or no, I don't want to take advantage of it.
Absolutely. And the last thing they'll get from me is a sales pitch, believe me. I mean, we're very, very transparent. We tell everybody, and if there's people that we think for whatever reason shouldn't do it, we will tell them that they shouldn't do it. We'll tell them to stay as they are.
Steve, let's be really honest. One of the reasons I insisted you came on this is because actually we took advantage of this ourselves. You were explaining this to me, and actually we were talking about potentially how we might. And one of our guys, our sales guy, said, absolutely, we're gonna, you know, why would I not want to take? And just to put some context around that, you know, some people get worried about their level of, you know, administration or how long it's going to take. I mean, it was the most simple of processes that could possibly have taken place.
Absolutely. The transition is simplistic. It really is. It's seamless. And also as well, one big thing that individuals, I think, have always worried about in regards to self-employment is all the, I'll use the word crap that comes with it. So self-assessments, you know, getting involved with accountants, tax returns, all that sort of thing. We do everything for them. It's all done for them. And you know, the great thing about it is the way we set it up, and I'll happily jump on the Zoom with any of your people who want to talk to me about it. For the individuals, it costs them nothing. So you know, there's national insurance savings as well, and it really is a way that at the moment people can effectively see a 10-15% pay rise just by transitioning their contractual arrangements.
And doesn't affect things like holidays at all, like that? Is it in terms of how do you cater for that side of things when you're moving over on the administration side of things?
We encourage every business to operationally treat the consultants the same as they would treat employees. So from somebody who's making the transition, we basically say to the businesses, look, operationally change nothing else. You know, the advantage you're seeing, you're going to see financially anyway by, you know, the savings on your payroll costs. You don't need to start looking at holidays or, you know, changing people's hours or whatever. Everything else stays the same. So
it's really ticks in the box, but you get these benefits. Okay, for someone who's going to be really cynical, and I always challenge myself on this, you know, those ones where it sounds like it's too good to be true. The key point here, though, is that actually this isn't doing anything, you know, ostensibly outside of the realms of proprietary, is it? This is actually what you said yourself, I think, before. It's working hand in glove with one of the world's biggest accountancy firms to have made this right, and getting approval again, isn't it, from HMRC or whatever else, that this is all ticks in the box.
Yeah, and we can, you know, any individual businesses that we speak to, we're happy to provide them with documentation that shows what we're doing is right. I mean, there's been talks about various schemes and umbrella. You know, I get asked about umbrella schemes and that sort of thing. We're not that. We're not an intermediary. You know, people bring up throw up IR35, which I suggested we discuss, because I think a lot of people are misinformed about IR35. They don't really understand what it's about. But we're not that. We're not an intermediary. We're not an umbrella company. We're basically we act on a consultancy basis with the business to allow their people to work that way. So our only arrangement, as such, a contractual arrangement, is with, as you know, is with Kerfuffle rather than with the guys that are taking advantage of the platform. But the great thing is, look, we're there to support everybody. We support the business, We support the individuals. We're more there for the individuals going down the road because they're the ones that it's probably a little bit more newer to. You know, they're not used to it. And we're there the whole way down the road for them. And again, you know, once I speak to any particular individual or any particular business, I'll explain to them exactly everything we do. We're there.
Let's recap at the beginning then, Steve, though there. So how does that platform, the TMS platform, then help the business? Because you mentioned there, did you say it was normally it's going to be about 15% of the payroll costs?
Okay, so you've got your national insurance costs, which are about 13.5%. Those are the costs that the business bears. You've also got workplace pension, okay, which has been introduced over the last 4 or 5 years or so. So most businesses will be paying, as far as PAY is concerned, they'll be paying towards 18% on top of whatever they pay any individual person. So that's effectively negated, okay? For the individual, as I say, because they can now utilise the allowances that the revenue give them, they give currently people who are self-employed, of which is like 5 million in the UK, because they take all the advantages there in relation to, you know, and just some, there's obviously mileage allowances, there's things like, you know, mobile phones, and all the things that self-employed people listening to this will be very, very familiar with, as I've been self-employed for 25, 30 years. And that effectively, everyone's slightly different, but in general, and we sort of look at the consultants that we have on at any one time, of which we've got around about 2,000, we'll look at those and we'll average out in the pay brackets exactly who's saving what. And to be fair, it does work out at between 10 and 15% for most people. And there's you know, for the higher end earners, those obviously who are starting to pay 40% tax, because of this, it will drag them back down under 40%, under that bracket. So there's a bigger benefit there as well. But again, they're only benefits that people enjoy already. Self-employed people enjoy these benefits. So we're not saying to anybody, right, don't pay tax. We're just saying, look, transition and do it this way. You know, I'm a big one. An analogy I always use is when you come to renew your car insurance or your utilities, you can go on a comparison site. And you can get the best deal that's out there. There's nothing like that. And there's hundreds of contractual arrangements out there for businesses. But everyone just thinks employed, self-employed. What we've got is something that's different. It's approved. It's, you know, it's properly regulated. It's compliant, and everybody can sleep at night. It's just people don't know about it.
So again, it's just a case of, you know, what did you say? There's 5 million? So
there's 5 million self-employed people, self-employed contractors in the UK at the moment. So of the 30 plus million workforce, 5 million of those are currently self-employed.
And you're right. I mean, I didn't think about it, but actually having, you know, obviously we had the Australian operation for many years over there. And so having gone around a lot of the Aussie operations there, of course, is they have that flexibility, don't they, to run these kinds of things. That was something that it took a while to get my head around. But again, it's just looking at that flexibility point, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And that's all it is. You know, there's nothing cloak and dagger about it. You know, we're very, very open with everything we do. You know, we've been around since 2008, so we're approaching 15 years. You know, any dodgy scheme, for want of a better expression, would not have lasted that test of time. And we currently stress test it as well, which is also good. So in one of the sectors, every year we'll take an individual or a couple of people out of a business in a different sector, and we'll say to the revenue, look, these guys are basically self-employed. This is the submission that we sent into, blah, blah, blah. Are you still okay that they're self-employed? And it always comes back, yes, that's fine.
So you're doing everything you can possibly do to make sure that this is absolutely, you know, seen as being right and correct.
100%.
Because you're liaising with them all the time. It's not like you're hiding behind anything as well, is there? So
no. And I think when we initially spoke about this some 4 or 5 months ago, and you said, you know, what agents use, and I'm not going to mention them on here, but you know, there was a list there, and a lot of them you know you were familiar with, and quite a few of them have been utilising the platform for 10 years.
Well, famously, I don't have much attention to detail, but what I do know is those businesses were absolutely from people who had, you know, who absolutely understand the minutiae and look at that in there. So these were big players, as you said. It's not right to name them without them doing it. Although it's got to be said, is we are interviewing a few of them in a few weeks to come, aren't we?
We are.
So you can talk about it from their point of view. But this is the first point about getting it across. So Yeah, I mean, okay, so just to recap as well, savings for both the businesses and the participating individuals, and those rates you were talking about there. The fact is, it's a choice for any of the employees as to whether they want to take advantage of those financial savings.
Absolutely. That's very important.
Nobody's forced to transition, so this is, you know, this isn't like somebody walks into an office one day and says, guys, this was what's happening. This is completely up to them to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
You got that point about businesses can expect to see savings of 15% plus on the payroll costs. The individuals could typically expect to see in the region of 10% more money in their pay packets as well. And it's working. I think this was the one that when we looked at originally, is it operates with a revenue pre-approved contractual agreement between both the business and the individual, giving everyone that total peace of mind that you want to have in this area.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we're very, you know, we're very much of the mindset that, you know, we need to be completely supportive and we need people to have complete peace of mind in doing this. And, you know, we've listened, the number of times I've sat in front of accountants after having spoken to business owners, they've got their accountants involved. We're happy to speak to people's accountants. We will run through it. Some accountants initially don't get it. And they, you know, once we've explained it to them, they're right, okay. We now have accountants referring us to other businesses they work with.
No,
so
it makes a big difference for me, and especially the way that you go about it as well, in terms of having the conversation. Obviously, you talk to the business, but you also talk to the individual in a one-on-one conversation there. So everyone's absolutely in no doubt as to what needs to happen there.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're there to talk. We're transparent, you know, and we know what we've got works. It's proven, it's tested, and it's compliant, and that's the important thing.
I mean, ultimately, what we're talking about here, Steve, that this is just one way of making you more tax efficient, really, isn't it? In terms of absolutely the structures of whatever's already going on out there in the business.
Exactly. It is all about tax efficiencies, and you know, people look for efficiencies around absolutely everything. And you know, why not utilize this as well? Because at the end of the day, you know, there's no reason why you shouldn't take advantage of something that the revenue are quite happy for you to use.
And I'm going to just read a couple of quotes out because you've only just hit the platform here, but unsurprisingly, and I'm not surprised, 5-star reviews are rolling in from both employers and employees at the moment as well. Yeah. But on top of that, I was really cheeky, as I always do, and said, well, come on, guys, what can you do for me? So anyone who's registered in as a official Kerfuffle member, and you do have to obviously be on there, you've guaranteed absolutely no setup fees as well for this as well, for all Kerfuffle recommendations. That's right, yeah?
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely no setup fees. We, you know, the consultancy or initial chat with me, you know, there's nothing, there's no setup fees for when you get involved. And the great thing is about it, Simon, and it won't happen, but just as an example, is that if somebody's not getting paid, there's nothing to pay. Yeah. You know, so it's not like there's a monthly subscription or anything like that. It's not. It is purely based on the percentage of what each individual. But the great thing is, as I say, real time, it costs the business. The business will see a savings of about 15%, because by the time we take our fees off, that's what it leaves us with. For the individuals, because of the way we set it up, it generally costs them nothing. And I'm happy to explain to everybody exactly how that works.
Yeah, I think that you know, when we looked at this, it's an overused phrase, but no brainer came into this for the right people. And again, that's what the key was. Yeah. Just looking at those some of those reviews. Again, if you do want to have a look, just go to TMS Group on kerfuffle.com, have a look at the landing pages. You'll see obviously any of these interviews and the follow-up interviews we'll be doing with the businesses that are doing this. But Miles, obviously well-known Miles over at Crux from the recruitment side, he says awesome negotiation tool. He says we use TMS for our staff. It's also a fantastic tool for our clients to use when hiring staff as a negotiation tool. And you can understand that. So that's again a no-brainer there, isn't it, when you're talking to them? And then David Giles here from Miles. This is here. Delighted with the service. We've been utilising the TMS platform now for a couple of years and can honestly say that we've been delighted with the service. Our people are enjoying the financial benefits of working the TMS way with significantly more money at their disposal, and our business has also seen the financial advantages. Thanks to Steve and the team for introducing us to the platform. I'll be happy to recommend to anyone working in our sector. Well, I mean, that's pretty clear.
Yeah, and just going back to the point Miles made, I will say that, you know, when he says negotiating tool, we have noticed, and our existing clients have come back to us and says it really helps with staff retention. Because effectively, if you've got somebody on a £35,000 package, for them to get the same money in their net pay packet, they've got to go 40 grand somewhere else. So it's also a great arm to your recruiting profile. So there's a couple of other things, the sort of like side issues that that really come into play as well. It isn't just about the savings.
Well, fantastic. I think, as I said, all I can say, I'll probably, I don't know if I'm allowed to go on the review site and review and put a review on there, or whether that breaks the fourth wall or whatever else. But
probably does.
Really, really happy with it. Happy from an employer's point of view. We've been really happy with it as well from the employee point of view. So for me, again, it just seems like another great flexible tool to have in your kit bag, really. Really, really thanks for taking the time to explain to us today on that, Steve. It's really, really useful. And again, you've made the point that just click on there, either go to Steve directly and just obviously ask him to explain it, or go and just go on our website and ask to get put in contact, and we'll forward any of these onto Steve directly. And we're going to be catching up in a couple of weeks' time, talking to a few of the people who are taking advantage of it, aren't we, Steve?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, so hopefully we're just trying to settle that in. Obviously, you're a very busy man, as we all know, flying around the country all the time. But yeah, I would hope by the end of November time we'll probably have 4 or 5 people that we've spoken to that we can also give you sort of like video testimonials. But in the meantime, if anybody wants to speak to anybody, I've got some names within the property sector who would be happy to talk and happy to recommend our products and services without.
And as an absolutely top players themselves, so that's really good.
Yeah,
Steve, thank you very much for today. That's really good.
Great stuff, Simon. Thanks. Good to see you again, right?
Cheers, Steve. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.